Hey, welcome to the CMO Whisper Show. I'm your host, Steve Olensky. Part marketing practitioner, part ad agency veteran, part journalist. I was a writer for Forbes for 10 years. I've had so many insightful conversations over the years with business leaders, to athletes, to celebrities, to, of course, CMOs. The only difference now is instead of sharing those insights through written form, I'm doing it this way. My guest today is Marco Matos, co-founder and CEO of Adora, where he leads the company's strategy and product vision for its AI-driven performance marketing platform. Marco works with enterprise brands to rethink how marketing organizations launch and optimize campaigns using AI, helping teams move faster and make smarter, more adaptive decisions. Now, over his 18-year career, Marco has led product development for more than 25 products, with the past decade focused heavily on digital advertising and measurement. He's held product roles across Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Pinterest, working on advertising platforms and data analytics systems at massive scale. And I'm very proud to call him my long-lost brother, my newfound friend. Marco, welcome to the show.
Steve, thank you so much for having me. And I didn't realize how old I was until you just reminded me. Thank you.
No nap taking during the show. All right.
So deal. I make a promise.
If I see you drifting off, I got you. Okay. I cannot wait. I mean, we have had our conversations off air. Anyway, we're going to start with some myth busting.
Let's do it.
Right. And I can't wait because you shared some myth that you want to bust. And I want to tee these up and then get out of your way because I can't wait for you to bust some myths. First one, AI in marketing is really just a cost-cutting play. So the first question is, why do you think companies are still framing AI primarily through cost reduction?
Yeah, man. I gotta hold back a little bit, but not too much. The New York City kid in me is ready to go. Look, I think the answer is it's an obvious play, right? It obviously feels like it's cost cutting. And in this world where there's so much opportunity around performance, there's opportunity around what's being driven in the market, I think it just sells what the capability of the technology is a little short. For me, the real opportunity is performance. It's really about driving more effective outcomes. And the cost cutting is just sort of the first step of that, if you will. So, Steve, I'm curious as you see it, but when you talk down to a CFO, I think it's just obvious to start with, here's where we think we can cut budgets. Here's where we think we can get more efficiency. And I think that's just been the narrative that's taken over. The reality for me is it's really about performance and sort of the impact you're going to make to the business by driving that efficiency and scaling.
I love that. I completely agree with your answer, which is a good segue into ROMI. Why is that becoming the metric more and more boards, if not C-levels, actually care about now?
I think if you start with where we came from, ad spend, right? It was you as a marketer got a bunch of money to dedicate to advertising, and everybody focused on return on ad spend. And this idea of ROAS became a very simple shortcut, especially on digital where we had attribution, right? 20 years ago, a small search engine convinced the world that if somebody clicked on an ad, somebody bought something. And the birth of last click and the birth of return on ad spend came out. And it's funny because if you think about where we started with TV advertising and print advertising, attribution had less of a strongman hold on sort of the outcomes effect. But over the last 20 years with digital, it's all been about attributable conversions and your return on your ad spend. The problem with that is it's completely mislooking at or misguided by the total opportunity of the pie. As a marketer, you're given a budget for not just headcount, not just your marketing tech stack, but your photo shoots, the ability for your team to execute all of these campaigns, your third-party partners, your agencies, all of that is a marketing investment. A piece of that is on advertising. So if you're able to take a step back and look at your full budget as a CMO, you're going to be able to apply not just the efficiencies, but performance outcome gains across the entire spectrum. So if you're only looking at the ad spend, I think you're doing it wrong. You've got to look at the total budget because you're seeing not just the cost cutting and efficiencies, but the performance outcomes and sort of that 10x scale really on the entire budget. And in a world of AI, as a CMO, as a leader, you've got to really rethink your entire investment. You're rethinking your org chart. You're rethinking how you're set up. You're not doing the brand versus performance as we did 15 years ago. And don't get me started on that one. You're thinking about your total marketing investment. And I think this idea of ROMI is going to become the future as now everything needs to be attributable. Now I need to measure the effectiveness of all parts of my investment.
It's fascinating why CMOs, I'm going to ask you to speculate, but do some CMOs either not know how to look at all this? They don't want to look at all this. They're afraid to look at all this because to me, the more you open this aperture up, if you will, the more you can validate and show your CFO and CEO like, hey, not only do I deserve what you're giving me, I could use more and I have the proof to show it. Does that make sense?
It does. Look, I actually think the CMO job might be one of the hardest in the C-suite. I think the pressures from on high, from the board to say, hey, deploy AI and get efficient. Your CFO is looking for attributable dollars in terms of how you're driving the business. Your budgets are usually the first to get cut. And over the last 10 years, every CMO knows the tenure has changed quite a bit. I think it's a really, really difficult job, and they have to balance what can I drive in the short term. But then you and I know this. Brand building is a long-term effect. So how do you think about short-term outcomes, short-term deliverables, especially at a publicly traded company where every 90 days you got to go back to the street and talk about revenue? And you're thinking about outcomes of how you change hearts and minds about your brand for many types of generations, different demographics, different psychographics. I think that's a really difficult position to be in. I think there are some CMOs, they get that their neck is on the line and they're just like, screw it, I'm going to do it my way. And I'm going to rejigger the whole thing. And those, in my opinion, are the CMOs that are really starting from the ground up. The ones that are curious about AI, the ones that are investing in the technology and the tools. They're just not on a chair telling their teams what to do. They're actually investing themselves and becoming very proficient. And when a CMO understands what's capable, that's how the tops down leadership comes out, where they can guide their teams and really set the bar and set the tone. So I think the CMO position right now is evolving very quickly. And I think the best CMOs are the ones that, in and of themselves, they're in the system, they're in the technology, and they're becoming more proficient as a user, as a technologist themselves. Because as you know this, the barrier to entry is low. Anybody can go teach themselves anything at this point. So with the capabilities around generation and analytics, data analysis, and really thinking about not just first-party data, but really unstructured data. How do I take all of that and create a memory, a brain? That's where the CMOs are going, in my opinion. And to me, what a time to be alive, because you can finally start to do these things.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And it's just your points are so spot on about the pressure, but the pressure is there to be relieved because the AI gives them that tool to literally do whatever they want. I know that sounds hyperbolic, but it's not. Anyway, we can keep going on that myth. I want to move to the second myth because there's a lot more to cover. Myth number 2, AI generated creative hurts brands. Now, I think you're on record or you've said that it's not bad creative hurts brands. I mean, bad creative is what hurts brands, not AI itself.
Look, I don't think much has changed, right? We were talking about our age earlier, and I'm old enough to remember where people lost their minds around magazine covers getting photoshopped. Today, you can't show me an image anywhere on your phone, on your desktop, on TV, anywhere that hasn't been touched up. It's part of society today. I think the how you get to great creative is evolving. And the beauty of this is there's so many pieces of technology that allow you to scale from image, video, content. And that, to your point, that's a superpower to a CMO. They can literally build anything with their technology stacks and their people around them. To me, it's what's your standard? What do you stand for? Let's paint a really dystopian picture. In a world where you can create truly anything, you know where brands differentiate? In their DNA. Who are you? Who do you speak to? Who are your consumers? What are your beauty standards? What do you think about representation? It's not the technology that's the problem. What is the outcome and the output that you want to put out? And to me, when a CMO tells me AI is going to hurt their brand, I question that, because to me, no, the AI is going to give you more capabilities. You still own your brand. Now, I don't think you should have an AI in the box and an AI marketer in the box that just spits things out without you noticing. You really have to care about what is your creative leadership? What is your brand aesthetic? What is your expression? None of that's changed.
Right.
The technology just allows you to do all of that a lot faster, and more importantly, with a huge aperture of creative content. That feels like a weapon, not something to shy away from.
Correct. And how to use that weapon, of course.
Correct. And by the way, we've always been about human curation. One of my favorite shows, Mad Men, Don Draper, right? This was the start of advertising in its heyday. I'm not Don Draper. I'm a colorblind engineer from New York City, dude. I have no idea what ads are going to work ahead of time. I'm going to help you figure that out. But CMOs and VPs of brands and brand owners still need to have a perspective of what they want to go stand for in the market. And to me, that's never been more true than now and for the next 10 years. And that's the exciting part about the market and the industry today.
Yeah. Staying on this myth about AI generative creative hurts brands, do you think AI is exposing weak creative leadership more than weak creative itself?
I won't say weak. I will say there's an opportunity to be lazy, right? And
Mm.
by the way, let me switch the conversation. Forget marketing. Let's talk about legal. Over the last 2 or 3 years, I have a lot of friends who are lawyers. Once a month in my WhatsApp group with some college friends, I'll get the article of a lawyer that submitted an AI created brief and just didn't read it. And it started hallucinating and making up cases. Like, that's lazy to me. So I think AI has the opportunity of making humans lazy, and I think that is dangerous. In the CMO world, you need to have the ownership of the outcome and the output. And I think most CMOs, especially those that care about their brands, they're doing that already. Now, with the opportunity to make a lot of these things so much easier, you've just got to invest in the curation and really understanding where that expression wants to go. And you need to be opinionated and have a point of view. The best brands, in my opinion, have a point of view. And now that you can create anything, now that your teams are creating anything, you really got to figure out, hey, what's our operating model? How do we actually go from so many thousands of pieces of content to the ones that we really care about? How do we test and learn? How do we know what resonates? And by the way, what resonates in Seattle might not in New York, might not in Texas. So you have the opportunity to speak to people at a one-to-one level. And that's what true experiential marketing needs to become. And now that the capability is there, how are you going to go wield that? That to me is the danger. It's laziness, not weak, but taking advantage of the power that you have in your tool belt. That's a powerful move.
Yeah, and it was like you're reading my mind because I was literally about to ask you the open-ended question, is AI making marketers lazy? But I love how you just take out marketers. It's just all of us, right? We all have our tool of choice, chat, Claude, whatever, and I use it, you use it, we all use it.
Totally.
Right? But I mean, I find myself now going, hey, chat, what should I have for dinner? Right? And this is what I have in my house. And I don't know if that's a good example of being lazy as opposed to just productive. Specifically when it comes to marketers, I have a big fear. And I think over the next 12, 18, 24 months, the brands, you're going to see those who are lazy get quote unquote called out, in my opinion.
I agree with you. And by the way, to your point, how you want to deploy the technology is totally up to you. You might not care what you eat, but there are lots of people out there who really care about what they're going to have today. And that's where they want to spend their creative juices. They want to make recipes. And AI is helping them do the same. And, Steve Jobs was very famous for saying, I don't care about what I wear. I just want to wear the same thing every day because I just need that idea out of my brain so I can go focus on other things.
Yep.
That's the beauty of AI. You get to decide. And to me, in a world where your teams can create anything, your teams can concept anything, you should have more gumption. You should have more point of view as to what you want to go stand for because it's so easy to go deliver. So I think humans have the opportunity to be lazy always. And some laziness is good, some is bad. Open LinkedIn, everybody's writing with AI. But you can also tell when there's people who are not even reading their content. And that to me is lazy. So I don't care how you start, but you've got to stand by the outcome. You have to stand by the output. And to me, the journey's up to you. How you use the technology is up to you. But whatever you post, whatever you put out there, you better sign your name to it. And if you didn't read it, and if you didn't love it, that's on you.
Exactly. That's just it. That's the mic drop right there. It's on you. Okay.
Totally.
Third and final myth. The fastest AI adopters win. So first, why do you believe the tools themselves will eventually commoditize?
Yeah. I think there's a moment in time we're having right now where it's the wild, wild west in building. And by the way, as an engineer, I love it. Our team loves it. We can build anything. Our ability to execute at a faster clip is almost 1,000x than it was even a few months ago. And that's a really exciting place to be. But that also means you're going to see the rise and, in my opinion, the fall of hundreds, if not thousands, of point solutions. And the danger behind that is everybody and their mom is disrupting AI marketing and all these different fields. You as a marketer can't just grab every tool that comes off the shelf and bring it in because you're being forced to test it. You have to be methodical on what problem you want to go solve. And more importantly, you have to organize around the workflow of your teams. Adopting AI quickly is actually not the goal. The goal is to drive performance or to drive an outcome or to drive revenue for your business. AI is going to help you go do that. So if you're just running to go run, I think that's dangerous. Start with the problem, figure out what you want to go solve for, understand your company, understand your ethos. Do you have a 2-person team or a 200-person team? And go find the platform that's built for how you want to operate. And then have a point of view on what good looks like. How are you measuring the effectiveness? Is it speed? Is it outcomes and performance? Is it the ability to change and disrupt how your organization is working? That's totally up to you. But AI fluency is a leadership goal and a challenge. How you allow your team to adopt is really up to you. And in my opinion, it's not speed, it's memory. How are you developing capabilities that your team is knowing and learning constantly, this test and learn? That is the true unlock of AI, but it's got to be around human. And to me, the speed is one thing. Yes, I love people diving in, but do you methodically know the problem you're going to go solve? That should be the focus.
You just used the word human, and I'm going to assume this is going to be part of your answer to the next question, which is this. If everybody has access to the similar or same technology, where does and will the real advantages come from?
I think it's two. I think one we spoke about already, which is what we call the brand DNA. What is your brand expression? What do you stand for? One of my favorite chefs in the world, I'm a foodie, is David Chang. And he has a great story when somebody goes into Momofuku and they ask for a dish. He's like, you know who serves that dish? The restaurant 2 blocks down. You don't have to be everything for everybody. You have to be who you want to be for your customers. And I think in today's world, the brand DNA, what brands stand for, that's the true position of differentiation. I think two is really the customer experiences that you're delivering, both in marketing, both in real life and in person, and really how you impart what your message is to me as a consumer and how I feel about your brand. I think those two pieces are going to be the moment of how the best brands survive or how the best brands evolve, who have the best products, who can explain and articulate in a way that resonates to me, and who cares about the things and the values that I care about as a consumers. At the end of the day, I believe in a capitalistic society, we all vote with our dollars. So the ability to leverage these tools to do that better and faster, I think is really important, but you can't lose sight of who you are as a brand. And if you try to be everything, you're going to be nothing. You've got to be the thing that you want, the brand that stands for what the consumers are looking for in your voice.
That's where the laziness is. That's a real, like, it's right around the corner to just go, okay, this has worked. I'm just going to plug this into AI and it's just going to keep working, right? As opposed to in the past, pre-AI, where a brand would adjust, rightfully so, based on what the market is telling them.
That's right. What's funny to me about the world today of AI, my favorite A word, which is not AI, it's authenticity. Everybody cares about, oh, AI is not authentic, it's inauthentic. And my point is, actually, no, authenticity is defined by you. It is defined by what the brand stands for. And in that world, you can test many messages, but those messages have to be on brand. They can't say wildly different things, and they can't say totally different messages about what the brand stands for in left or right. They have to have an ethos. Now, the words you use, the way it shows up, the positioning of your logo, the imagery, all that can be tested. But the core message you want to go deliver, that has to come from a brand. And if you're depending on AI to develop that, I think that's going to be a difficult place. You can have AI help you evolve it and to scale it, but it has to come from what the brand wants to stand for. And I largely believe that's an opportunity for humans to really decide that.
Yeah. Okay. I think I've heard you describe AI as the quote Iron Man suit for marketers. What does that mean?
One, I'm a Marvel nerd. I love comic books. For years, we've been all talking about human in the loop. And I think one day that just rubbed me the wrong way. And I think I was in a customer meeting and I said, what do you hear when you hear human in the loop? I was talking to CMO. And they said, well, it just feels like everything is happening around me, but I'm just one piece of the pie, right? I'm just like a simple link in the entire ecosystem. And it doesn't feel right. And I was like, yeah, I totally disagree. And probably just got done watching Iron Man 2 for the 100,000th time with my daughter. And I realized, no, marketing is still, at the end of the day, human storytelling, humans telling other humans about what they stand for as a brand. And it is a very human experience. The Iron Man suit is really about the human as the pilot getting 1,000x more powerful. You're faster, you're stronger. You can do things that a sole human by themselves could not. That's what I believe AI to be. You put it around the human pilot, and now you are scaling your speed. You are scaling what is possible. You are scaling the human creativity, the human brain and its capabilities at a clip that has never been seen before in human existence. And those that are realizing that they have to sit in the Iron Man suit. And by the way, a lot of machinery, a lot of technology, a lot of capabilities inside that suit. But the decision making is human. The decisions about what to go do and what to go after and what mission to go on, if you really want to take the analogy to the next level, that is all human. And to me, the best marketing organizations, the CMOs today understand that. They still have to tell human storytelling, but how do you tie creative and performance? How do you test and learn? How do you drive outcomes for your business? That's where AI will really make it powerful for you, but it starts with the human.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere AI adoption is stalling, right, to some degree. And I know we talked, you said this isn't really a technology problem, it's an org chart problem. What did you mean by that?
I think the number was 95% of pilots. This was in Q4 of last year. 95% of AI pilots never made it to production. And I think there's two problems that cause that outcome or that result. Number one, AI is being forced on every marketer's throat, right? It's coming from the board. It's coming from the CEO. They're saying, you got to use AI. You got to use AI. And when you push it down without a real mantra, without a real goal, you're going to get a lot of things that are just stalling. I think if you start with the problem and the outcome you want to go drive and methodically decide how are we going to go solve that with AI, it just changes the ball game versus to the point earlier, let's just run into the race. I think the second piece is, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, if you're just expecting your teams to come up bottoms up with ideas of where AI is going to work best, you're going to get a lot of point solutions. You're going to build the Frankenstack. And you're going to get a lot of desperate teams doing things in silos. And that feels like the opposite of efficiency. No wonder it's going to fail. My AI system over here has got an MCP and talk to this AI. Like, what are we doing? You need an end-to-end platform that brings the teams together. And that has to come from the top. The CMO has to lead by example. They have to be steeped in these tools. They have to be very detail-oriented around the problem they want their organization to solve. So if you can't create the swim lanes, the ability to invest in the technology, into the capabilities, into the skill sets, and really have that as a top-down mandate, that's the thing that's going to make this success. So I think in 2025, we saw a lot of people rush into pilots. My expectation in 2026, people are going to kind of do a little bit of a reset and figure out how to deploy this in action and seeing what's durable. And we're seeing in our own organization, there's a lot of opportunity, both on how you build, on how you market, on how you work with your customers. There's no shortage of things that can change. But you have to be very specific on the outcome you want to go drive and solve for that in a very methodical way from the organization. That comes from the top.
You use the word I use all the time, and I jokingly say it's a reason it's a 4-letter word, literally and figuratively, is the word silo. And it's always been the death for any brand in any generation, right? This is no different, but it's almost exacerbated in our world right now of AI because it's so easy. And you mentioned all the point solutions. It's so easy for a CMO to go buy that. Oh, we need to go buy that. And then they just start working in the silos. And next thing you know, like you said, that Frankenstack is not talking to one another. It's a really slippery slope.
And again, I think people's hearts are in the right places. People mean well. So if my boss is telling me go deploy AI, I'm going to go figure out what it is that I do and what are the things that exist out there that I can go try AI. And I see why this is happening. And to the point earlier, this is why it's got to be a different conversation. You need to have people who are steeped in the technology, what it's capable of. You need to have folks out there trying different things and seeing where the market is evolving. But before you bring anything inside, you've got to be very clear with the organization. Hey, what are we trying to accomplish? What's the real goal? Are we trying to reduce headcount? Are we trying to scale our performance? Are we trying to change how we work? Are we trying to optimize the speed? Like, let's come up with the actual thing we want to go do and solve for that. And when you can do that as an organizational leader, the ability for your team to sort of jump into the boat with you and solve the problem as an entire organization, I think solves a lot of these problems. And you start to break down the silos. People don't want more silos. They want to be part of a team, but they also want to be rowing in the same direction as a unit.
Yeah.
And when you allow that freedom and that capability to work as an organization, I think you start to see things that become very, very sticky. And we've seen CMOs do this today with the companies that we work with. It takes a little bit of transformation. I believe in 2026, though, it is a easier way to go do it, but you got to still start with what problem are we solving?
That's how I was taught. I'm sure you were taught. What's the end result? What do you want? And work back from that. It's really simple. That simple. And that's the point. Okay.
That's right.
I think I heard you say again or written somewhere, you think right now this time could become the biggest opportunities CMOs have had in 20 years. Why?
Yeah. I mean, Steve, you actually alluded to it earlier. So content production, has become a lot easier. I've already had all of the places I want to spend money sort of begging me to create more content. We all know more content's better. You have more choices of placing your ad dollars. You have more opportunity of places to show up as a brand. And now you have technology that, in my opinion, is starting to fulfill the promise of personalization. This idea of one-to-one communication, we've been talking about for over 20 years. We're starting to get there with the capability of the tools that exist today. Now, I think it takes visionaries, innovators, and people who are bold, who want to sort of lead from the front, as opposed to just wait in the back and say, hey, this is going to figure this out. I'm just going to copy what everybody else is doing. The CMOs that are leading today, I think, have the opportunity to create a step function change for their entire company, for their business. How you show up, how you execute, how you deliver revenue, how you build economic value is right now transforming. And the marketer has a front row seat to how that's happening. In fact, they are the ones who can become the driver of that chair. And by sitting in that and really becoming the person who adjusts and absorbs the Iron Man seat, I think they can have the biggest impact to any business today. And to me, as a CMO, that's what you want. You want to deliver outsized impact for the business. I think that's never been more true of an opportunity today. It requires a little change in how you're approaching the problem and how you're thinking. But the opportunity, in my opinion, for CMOs, for the first time, it's within hand.
Okay. So, I talk to CMOs all the time, and there's some constant or common denominators of what I hear. And one of them is just feeling completely overwhelmed, right? Like, I know AI, I'm going to put you in front of 500 CMOs who are completely overwhelmed. What are you telling them to do?
Well, one, you have my empathy and sympathy. I see companies every day disrupting marketing with AI in some form or fashion. I would say go back to first principles. Look at your organization, look at your business, the brand you're building, and start with what is the problem you're trying to solve? What are your key priorities of this half, this quarter, this year, the next 2 years? And really dissect the places where you think your organization can have step function impact to the business. But I think most marketers know this in their hearts. They have to drive economic value. The question is, how are you going to align your teams to go do that? I would also encourage you to talk to other CMOs. I think the CMO Whisperer is a great organization because you're bringing CMOs to have these really difficult conversations at a moment in time. If you talk to CMOs like, I figured it out perfectly, I know everything I'm doing, and I nailed it, I think they're being disingenuous. Mm-hmm. I think this organization and the CMOs that can come together and really have conversations about what they're seeing, what they're trying, what they're testing and learning, and what are having durable effects to the business, those are the ones that are going to have really cool common places. And I think those are the ones that are going to step. I think the last thing I would say is think end to end. Your marketing organization 10 years ago was siloed between brand and performance, but you have to go market full funnel. How's that working? So think at a moment in time as how do you bring your organization to work as one team? And that's where Romy comes in. Look at your budget as a total marketing investment. Look at the return as every dollar you spend is up for grabs that can be reallocated to drive economic value. Think end to end and think about the technology stack evolving your organization's workflow, the performance you can drive, how you measure visibility, how you get prepared for all the channels. It's not just digital. It's total automation and total marketing spend that you have to go invest in. So I think for the first time, marketers have to go back to first principles. Mm-hmm. For the last 20 years, we've created more silos than I think we've needed. Look at the Lumascape. Lumascape is a great example. If you look at its evolution over the last 10 years, you have more categories today than we've ever had. You have peak data. You have so many different things. I totally understand the CMO being overwhelmed. In my opinion, half that's going to get wiped away. And you're going to see the evolution of these end-to-end platforms. I think Adora is one of them, where marketers can go from data to creative, to performance, and create a flywheel. And it's got to be bespoke to how your organization operates, and it's got to work for everybody in the team.
I think the most important thing you said was one of the very first things you said. Basically, I'll paraphrase was, you're not alone if you're feeling overwhelmed. You're just not. And I'm talking to a guy here who's knee deep in it. Like, you admit you're a nerd, you're a techie, right? You get versus just a quote unquote CMO who came up through the marketing ranks. And you feel overwhelmed sometimes.
Totally. But let me tell you this. I think a lot of things are changing, especially if you were an engineer and if you're a technologist over the last 20 years. But as a creative person, it is your time to shine. The democratization of the tools right now are making it very easy for anybody to dip their toe and to learn. And you don't need a CS degree that you needed 5 years ago to go build. So I really think there's a moment where the best creatives, the folks that have such strong perspective, they know who they want to go be and what brand they want to show up as. Those are the ones that are going to shine right now if you can embrace the evolution of the technology in a way that I think the best innovators are doing it today.
There's no doubt, dude, we're going to have a part 2 because I didn't even get to half the stuff we're going to talk about, right? But I'm going to end it the way I do every episode. And if you've listened, you know what's coming. It's the random 5. So my audience gets to learn about Marco, the person. So here we go. When you were younger, what did you think you were going to do professionally before tech and marketing kind of entered the picture?
I thought I was going to be a pro baseball player. I come from a good Dominican, Puerto Rican family. I was fortunate enough to have some uncles play professionally. And then, reality settles in when a 12-year-old kid who's 6 feet is also 6 feet at 17. And it's like, oh, I'm not as big as I thought I was going to be. And I give credit to my dad who said to me when I got to school, you're a lot smarter than you are athletic. I think you need to kind of rethink where you're going. And I although I didn't want to hear it at the time, he was absolutely right. Yeah. If 12-year-old Marco's answering this question, for sure, we thought we were going pro.
Center field for the Yankees, that kind of thing. I got it.
I was more of a catcher or third baseman.
Well,
but yeah,
you
get
know
the
what
point.
I mean. That's usually I got it. Okay. Second question. What's your guilty pleasure that nobody would expect?
Good one. We watch a lot of fun reality television in my house. It's how I decompress. I do a lot of work and with my wife on the couch, and I post bedtime with the kids. It just allows me to decompress. I love comedy, and I enjoy just reality television. I think it's hilarious.
It's your escape.
Great social experiment.
Yeah. Okay. What's something that instantly tells you whether you'll connect with someone or not?
Humor. I love laughing. I love the joy of just generally people smiling. I've been told that if you laugh a lot, you lose calories. So it feels like a free workout. When somebody's able to share their humor and their type of humor, and there's a lot of different spectrums, I just think that's the best. And it shows you who somebody is. It shows you how they think. It shows you how they connect. But the gift of humor is the best. And it's the way I know if I'm going to get along.
I was going to say, you and I are living proof of that already, right? Okay. So you just mentioned TV shows. I'm going to flip it to movies. What's that one movie? You might know where I'm going, but you're flipping and you've seen it a million times. It doesn't matter. You're still stopping.
Ooh, can I give you 2? Major League.
Okay.
I just have so many memories of watching that with my older brother. And it's always randomly like on TNT or TBS.
Oh, yeah.
I could recite that entire movie for you. And it brings me back to my childhood. That movie is just an amazing baseball movie. And then more recently, The Dark Knight. I think that is, if you like superhero movies, I think that really put superheroes on the map. I thought it was perfectly acted by every character. And I think Heath Ledger has gone down as one of the greatest villains in terms of how he embodied that role. And I just think it says a lot about the work done. I just think it's a beautiful film.
Okay. Last question, and you may need a minute to think on this one. If your life had a theme song right now, what is it?
My life had a theme song. All right, I got one for you.
Okay, hit me.
I'm a big Bad Bunny fan.
Okay.
And there's a song that he has, DTMF, which translates roughly in English, I should have taken more photos. And I love this song because I think about enjoying the moment. So I'm a dad of 2 young girls. I'm on the startup journey as a founder. And anybody who can tell you raising kids and building a company at the exact same time is a lot of hard work. And I'm living proof of it. And I will tell you, enjoying the journey, like waking up and I take photos of random late nights with my team when we're ordering pizza at 10 p.m. together in the office, or random weekends. This weekend was my daughter's birthday. I think a lot about taking photos and really capturing the moment and being present. And that song, I think, truly embodies it from looking at it in the past. So I try to think about that song all the time and in terms of the present.
You just touched my heart, my brother. Wow, what a great answer. Okay, Marco Matos, co-founder, CEO of Adora, my new brother. Thank you for joining us.
Steve, until next time, my friend, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the CMO Whisperer Show. I hope you shared this episode with your friends. And if you have not already, please subscribe to be kept up to date on all the latest episodes. And if you're so inclined, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you.